So without further ado, I think we had one more person join us. So David's on now. Just a quick intro, Adam Lawrenson from Adlaw Appraisals, joining us today from Vancouver, although he has offices here in the Okanagan and Kelowna. Adam, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of speak to whatever you've got to present here. It's February of 2022. Markets have been weird and crazy. So tell us all about the appraisal world.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for having me, Pete. And is Sue here too? Do I see Sue?
She's in there.
Sue, don't see it. Hey, Sue, there you are. And Deb, hey, everyone. Great to see you. And thank you so much for having me. I'm going to make this real short and sweet. I'm super busy, and I assume you're super busy. So I'm going to make that assumption and just try to keep it real tight. I want to open it up for some questions at the end. So it'll be about 5-10 minutes. And then if you have any questions at the end, feel free to let her rip and anything goes. So let's get started here. All right. I hope everyone can see that. Pete, thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, good. So again, thank you so much for having me. We've been in the Okanagan since 2018. I spent a lot of time there as a kid. And it was only natural for us to open up an office there. But 4 years ago, we quickly met Deb and the team and have been kicking butt for a number of years now. We've done some work for Tracy down in Penticton as well. We're so busy right now that we're kind of tightening up our service areas. So we're not servicing Penticton. We are going down as far as Peachland, maybe Summerland, but Kelowna and Vernon are our two main hubs. That's where our appraisers live, work, play, reside, and that's how we can get things done quickly for you and your clients. So I just wanted to run by a few stats here. So this is single family residential in Vernon, the North Okanagan, and it just gives you, the green is 2021, the blue is 2022. You can just see what's kind of happening there. The higher end stuff, anything over $1 million, we're just blowing last year's sales out of the market. And around 400 to 600, a little bit in the 7s, 8s. That's not hardly happening anymore. So you're seeing a lot in the million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million plus. Like the $1.2 million to $1.5 million is shockingly increased this year versus last year. This is family, so you have strata apartments, strata townhomes. Again, the interesting thing is just the higher price point. So look, 500 to 600,000 doubled in volume. The 600 to 700,000, quadrupled in volume. So you're not seeing those $200,000-$300,000 units at all anymore. Those were a thing of the past. So interesting to see there. So the major driver for this is a lack of supply. So if you look at the supply and the inventory that is available in the Okanagan, it's next to nil. So that when there's demand to move up into these areas, they're paying a premium, they're paying over ask, multiple offers. All that is the norm now, especially if it's a desirable property, cookie cutter, basement suite, nice apartment, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, anything like that. It's they're just flying. Hard to keep up with right now, and I'll talk about that later on in the presentation. So a couple things I want to talk about real quickly: letter of transmittals, drive-bys, modified full appraisals, and crazy prices, and are we supporting them? So letter of transmittal, I just wanted to reiterate this. Basically, everyone knows what that is. It's often called a letter of reliance as well. You have a file that you don't know where it's going to go. So you think it's going to go to Scotia, you order it for Scotia, then it gets flipped over to MCAP or First National. What we're recommending is if you aren't firm on where the file is going to land, order it in your own name. So order it direct. Say, we don't know who the lender is yet. We'll put it under Pete's name. If he orders it, we'll put it under Kathy's name if she orders it. And then what we can do is we can do a free letter of transmittal once you find the lender of choice. The problem is if you order it for Scotia and then you switch it to First Nat, there's going to be a $75 letter of transmittal fee. So we are charging for all letter of transmittal fees. The reason for this is twofold. One, they're not the exception anymore. It used to be one in 100, no problem. Now it seems like it's every 4 or 5 files. And what the appraisers have to do is they have to review the appraisal again to make sure it meets the new lender's appraisal standards. First Nat is different than Scotia. It's different than MCAP. It's different from CMLS. They all have a very unique set of appraisal requirements. And the appraiser has to go through that, make sure it meets those requirements, and we can send them off. For example, some lenders need a electrical panel. Some lenders need adjustments to be below 20%. There's all these little things. So every time we do what appraisal for lender A, it's done to their standards. If it is switched, it has to be reviewed. So there's a $75 fee. So what I recommend, just do it in a very basic, put it under your name. Once you find the lender of choice, we can do it free of charge. So everyone gets one free letter of transmittal in that regard if it's done in your name to begin with. Drive-bys and desktops. We've been getting a lot more of these, and I'll tell you 80% of the time it results in confusion, chaos, and delays. So Scotiabank will say, yeah, you can do a desktop. It comes to us, we do the desktop, which provides a conservative 10% range of value. So say it sells for $1 million. Based on our standards and the fact that we have not seen the property and that it is a conservative document, it is a conservative valuation by definition, you're going to get a range from about 900,000 to $1 million. The lender is going to often use the lower end of that range. They're going to use the 900,000, and that could kill your deal. And I've seen it day in, day out. So we used to say, are you sure you want to order a desktop? The broker said, yes. Are you sure it provides a conservative range of value? Yes. Okay, so we go ahead and do it. It kills the deal. They have to order a full appraisal. They get dinged twice on the fees. It slows things down 3 or 4 days. It's just a complete, it often does not work out. So we always recommend full appraisals if you have the option. Even if Scotia says a desktop works, how do you know the value is going to come in? Again, it's a conservative 10% range. So if you need that value, if it's 80% loan to value, a full appraisal is your best friend. Modified full appraisals, we've been doing this for the last 1.5 years. This is a result of COVID. And I'm sure everyone who's ordered an appraisal has had some issues with the client is sick or they're out of town or whatever. And can we just send photos? No problem. So we're in a nice kind of juicy area here where lenders are very easygoing and lackadaisical about this modified full appraisal option. So as long as we get time-stamped photos of the property and geo-stamped photos, so there's an app that the homeowners and realtors can download. You take a picture of the kitchen, it says the exact coordinates of that kitchen and the date it was taken. So as long as they're recent and accurate, we can throw those in the appraisal. We have a bunch of limiting conditions that kind of protect us. We haven't been in the property, we haven't seen it, because as you know, they can take photos that are very favorable, I guess is the word you can use. Let's not take a picture of that hole in the corner. Let's take a picture of this nice updated area here, so on and so forth. So, but modified full appraisals are a great option. We've had 0 kickback from lenders on a modified full appraisal. So they're okay with it. We're okay with it. If your clients are sick, out of town, what have you, can't provide access, just get somebody to send us those time and geo-stamped photos and you're golden. Crazy prices. Are we supporting them? Yeah, I just had a phone call this morning. So an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment in Kelowna sold for $580 about a week ago, February 17th. And the same unit sold for $640 a couple of days later. So I had to call the realtor and find out what is going on. And this is before we even saw the property. So it really takes an appraisal company that has the resources, the time, the energy to call realtors, know what's happening in the market, and make sure that we aren't missing any information. So I called both realtors on the file that sold for $580. It was I wouldn't say it's a motivated seller, but it was a seller who had specific dates they wanted to transfer the property at. Didn't work for, I think, 70% of the buyers. So the one that did buy it at $580 got a deal on it. So we know that, we can put that in the report. The one that sold for $620, so 40,000 more, it was a corner unit, which wasn't notified in the MLS. It had upgrades from the developer of approximately 15,000, and it's 1 floor up, 2nd story versus 3rd story. So you know what, there are some crazy prices out there, but usually there's a reason, there's a rhyme or reason for why they're selling so high. It's a lack of demand. It's something unique about the subject property, and Adlaw Appraisals will do our due diligence to ensure that we're not missing anything and we're supporting as many sales as we can. Even if it's at the high end of the range, we're there to help you guys get your clients into homes. So we are supporting those values. 5 things you can do to better manage your appraised value. So especially with refinances, it could be assessed at 600, but your client thinks it's worth $1 million. There's a few things you can do to better manage the valuations. So work with a lender where you can choose the appraiser that you trust. Scotiabank, FirstNat, all the ones I've mentioned, MCAP are the ones that you can't choose. I'm sure you're all very aware. It's been a number of years now. TD Bank, Shore Financial. and a few of the other ones that don't let you choose. It puts you in a bind. You're getting appraisers that may not be familiar with the territory. You're getting appraisers that don't have a secondary review process. So all of the larger firms have every appraisal is read by two people. If it's a small one-man shop doing work for TD Bank, which tends to be the case, or a one-woman shop, they have no one to review their work. So they're running around, they're answering calls while they're in an appointment, and they're sending out appraisals without being reviewed. So the quality can definitely vary. Get a ballpark value, which I think Deb and her team have used quite regularly, which is awesome, is just send us an email. Hey, Adam, here's the address. What do you think the value is? We'll give you a rough ballpark based on the information we have available. And that helps you, 10 minutes can save you 10 hours on a file. Your client might think it's worth 1.8, but when in fact, that's actually includes development potential. So on a residential basis, it's only worth, half that. And you want to have that conversation with an appraiser who's objective, unbiased, and has no real skin in the game. So you can email us up there, values@adlawappraisals.com, anytime you have a value that you're looking to get a ballpark on. Understand the property and the lender requirements. So is there development potential? So I just spoke about that. So we have lots of times where, property, especially in the lower mainland, some areas of Kelowna North, you have like the the R7, RU7 zoning, which allows for a fourplex. We want to make sure that we are considering all that. And your client might think their property is worth $2 million, but it could be because of development potential. And if you don't want to do a commercial appraisal, you just want to do a quick and dirty residential loan on it, and the value is going to be less. So most of the lenders, the residential lenders that you guys deal with on a regular basis, do not include any development potential. Is the house a tear down? So if the appraiser thinks the house is going to be torn down for any reason, whether it's a condition, age, or the fact that there's development happening around the property, that's going to reduce the remaining economic life down to 0 or 5 years. That's going to kill any regular mortgage. So make sure that house is livable. So it's an average condition, and that it's not going to be torn down anytime soon. And I often hear from brokers, well, Adam, my client's not going to tear it down. An appraiser is not to reflect the decisions of one person, it's to reflect the decisions of the entire market. So if the bank was to take it over tomorrow and try to market it or sell it, who would be the buyer? If it's an old house on RU7 lot downtown Kelowna, it's going to be a developer, and they're going to tear the house down. So if we're doing it on a residential basis only, the value is going to come in much less than the market value. If there's any questions on that, you can let me know at the end. And then house in 10 acres. So I just did yesterday up on the west side of the lake. We did a house on 20 acres, sold for 1.45. And I immediately said to the broker, just to let you know, Scotia, they only allow the first 10 acres. So the value is going to come in low. And he said, well, I talked to the realtor and he says that the value with 10 acres is the same as 20 acres. I said, well, okay, that sounds like a stretch. Like 10 acres isn't just given away for free in the Okanagan. But when I did my analysis, it turns out that 10 acres has almost zero contributory value to the property. So someone would pay the same for a house in 10 acres and a house in 20 acres, all things being equal. And the reason that is that the part of the home was sloped up into the mountainside. So there really was no value there. It's like being backed onto a green belt, no development potential on those 10 acres as well. So just be careful about the property and the appraisal requirements. If we're doing a refinance, it's always good to preface your client to provide a list of updates for the appraiser. So if they've done paint, if they've done new appliances, done electrical plumbing, get them to write out a nice little sheet, hand it to the appraiser. That means nothing's going to be missed. We want to make sure that we really suss out the details and show pride of ownership with these homes. So if they've done anything small, a couple of new windows, they replaced the flooring in the family room in the basement, anything like that, very important. Sometimes during the appraisal inspection, we start chatting about the market, about the schools, about other things, and sometimes these things can be missed. So often a hard copy of the updates is perfect, and you can obviously email that to our office as well. If possible, provide appraiser with a sale price contract, any sort of lease agreements or expectation of value. So when you're ordering it directly from us, no problem. When you're ordering it through Solidify, sometimes things can be missed. What we ask is that if you're ordering through Solidify, to put all the notes of the sale price, rental values that you're looking for, if you're looking for just the basement or just the upper floor, to divide those up. and just give us any information that you think would be necessary for the appraiser. Oftentimes, if you input a value into Solidify, it does not get to us. So we ask that you put those into the special instructions. And lastly, if you do all this and you still come up with a low value, you can appeal any appraisal, and Adlaw is happy to look at any value appeal. We know we are not perfect 100% of the time, so we're always willing to look at an appraisal for a second or third time. And the best thing to do is just provide 3 good comparables. So, you know what, I'll even help you if you're doing a deal with TD Bank and you don't know the appraiser, and you say, hey, Adam, you know, we've worked with you quite a bit. We had this appraisal with TD Bank. It's coming in low. Can you help? I'm happy to help you. I'll provide you 3 comparables that you can upload to the system and hope to get that value up. So I'm not looking to do transactions with your team. I'm looking for like a long-term relationship. I want to see all you find people for the next 10, 20, 25 years. So it's not just a one transactional thing. It's a long-term relationship. So happy to help you with even a file that we're not working on for you. So that's it. That's my short presentation. Do you guys have any questions for me?
See a couple of questions in the chat. So Dave Iverson has asked, what renovation improvements give the homeowner the biggest bang for their buck?
Yeah, good question. It's typically kitchen, bathrooms. You know, those are things that really show well on the MLS listings. They get people into your home. People go just gaga over kitchens and bathrooms. I like windows, updated flooring. I mean, you can't really go wrong. Pete. You're investing in this asset. So what you put into it, you're going to get out of it. Things that don't really add value, drain tiles, but you need drain tile for your house to work. But you know what, if you start bragging about this $20,000 drain tile that you got, it's the best drain tile in all of the North Okanagan, no one's going to care as long as your house isn't flooding. New roof, no one's going to go gaga over that. Houses need roofs, they need drain tile. And again, some landscaping things are very personalized and not applicable to the general market. So if you went and spent $100,000 with a landscaper, you did everything perfect and it's high maintenance, but it looks beautiful, that often won't come back in market value either. So good kitchen, good bathrooms, double glazed windows. I mean, if you have single glazed windows, those have to go. Double glazed vinyl are the best. And yeah, that's about it.
I was muted. I thought I was unmuted. Anyway, another question from Judy. Are there new rules for self-contained suites? Do they have to be legal suites now in BC?
Are there new rules for self-contained suites? I guess, are there new rules in relation to an appraisal? Is that the question?
I think, yeah, okay.
Judy's
giving a yes.
Yeah. So there was some rumblings about that, about if it was not a legal suite, we could not provide market rent. I've not followed that. It's not a concrete rule, and I haven't followed it because there's lots of things that aren't legal authorized that have value. For example, there was a house in Hope, BC. It was a house on a commercial lot. The house is not allowed on the commercial zoning, but it has value. So a secondary suite that's done, you know, it's got the ceilings, it's got a private entrance, it's got an oven, bathroom, all that stuff. If it's rentable, it has value. We put in our reports that it does not conform to zoning, or that that it has not been checked if it's legal or not. So we will make those comments to kind of protect ourselves. We actually, another comment that we have is that we assume all suites are legal and authorized. But again, in 10 years, I've yet to have, and all suites are pretty much unauthorized. So I've never had a lender come back and say, is this legal? Is it illegal? As long as it's self-contained, Adlaw Appraisals will provide market rent for it. I can't speak to all other appraisal firms. I know there was one, some appraisers just, it's a personal decision. You know, if it's not legal, they're not giving rent. And then they fish that out through the whole entire team. We don't have that attitude. We have the attitude that if you can rent that suite out for $1,500, we're going to reflect that in our market rent.
Just have an
But I
interesting
do know some
story.
firms that have stopped doing it if it's illegal. But I mean, the entire marketplace would crash if appraisers could not provide rental income for unauthorized suites. I mean, that's how people debt service their mortgages, right? So that would have a huge impact. I don't think that's going to fly.
Adam,
Actually,
do you come to Salmon Arm Chase, Sorrento, and like Blind Bay, all of those places?
Yeah, we don't often, like we go to Armstrong. We have gone to Salmon Arm, but it's on an exception basis. It's when we have time, and just to be, we go to Kamloops too. You know, if our appraisers were sitting around twiddling their thumbs, yeah, let's go to Kamloops, let's go to Sorrento, let's go all over. But when we're busy, we don't have that luxury.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Adam, are you in discussions with BCFSA regarding the cooling off period and those
I'm not-
mandates that they're implementing?
No direct conversations, just you know, by the water cooler, you know, with some people that are members of that association. And the cooling off period, what does it consists of? It's not just increasing rates. What is it?
No, the cooling off period is
Oh.
they've asked for conversations. The cooling off period is so that when there's multiple offers and such, the buyer has the right to walk away from the
Yeah.
offer. Yeah.
Doesn't-
And they're trying to mandate conditions as well.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
Hell yeah.
You like it?
Oh yeah, mandatory conditions. And the realtors are suggesting no mandatory conditions or 1 day. Well, of course they are, but and they're suggesting no inspections as well. So we are, yeah, as president of MBABC, we're countering it. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think there needs to be something in there. I just that could get exploited, could it not? Couldn't people just be putting offers left, right, and center? So maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit.
Well, there's, you know, like the cooling off period, that was one of the conversations they had, is that there could be multiple offers. However, if you are working with a respectable realtor and you're working with one realtor and you have a signed contract with them, then that realtor is not going to allow you to put in multiple offers.
Respectable. That's the yeah. There's lots
It's a
of
hard one.
lots
Yeah.
of nasty stuff going on. It's so important. I mean, we bought our house with I think I walked through it with my wife, and there was an inspection getting done by another buyer, and we put an offer in that day, 200 grand over asking. It was an uncomfortable pressure situation. I did not like it. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. And yeah, I hope they do install something, because we can't self-govern. It's quite obvious. Yeah. It's like us all volunteering to pay tax or something, you know. There's gonna be some issues. Any other questions, Pete?
I don't see any in the question box there. Does anyone have any other questions?
Appraisals, values, lender requirements, AMCs, anything of that nature.
So you touched a bit about how property values have gone up quite a bit. Is really the solution to looking at the appraised values for, I guess, bids that are much higher than list price? Is it just looking at the variety of solds and looking at really recent solds? Is that kind of where you guys are at?
Yeah. So if it was, I mean, if it was a flat market, that's exactly what you would do. You look at the recent sales and it comes up to your value. But often, even if those sales are 2 or 3 weeks behind, which they often are, it's still not going to support that value. So that's where you have to really understand the limited supply part of the market. And, you know, the market is demand and supply. It's not just demand. So especially in a downward market and in an upward market, supply is crucial as well. And when you can't find, like, for example, that 2-bedroom apartment for 620, if you can't find anything similar that's listed, you know, under 615 or 610, odds are that 620 valuation is reasonable. Even though the sales can't support it, you know, you can say there's low supply, it's at the high end of the range. And then what appraisers do is we find something that's a little bit superior. So something larger, newer that's sold, and we can kind of cross-reference everything to come to a value that's reasonable. That makes sense.
So in that case, basically, as part of the adjustments, is there like a market adjustment? Like, is there just an overall market adjustment, or is it based on the variety of different factors that are within each property?
Yeah, no, there's a time adjustment that we can add to every comparable. So if it's anything's a month or two old, we're time adjusting it. You know, one market that's got completely out of control is Abbotsford and Chilliwack, because the cities have offered more density to some of the regular single family lots. So something that sold for 700,000 last year is now selling for 1.4. And it's just the time adjustments that we have to do, even from November to February. it's like 200,000-300,000 easy. Haven't seen that. I mean, the numbers are bigger in the Lower Mainland than some of the areas of North Okanagan, but the principles are similar. Anything else? No hands up. Everyone's good.
Where do you see things going in the next month or two? Same? Still moving up?
I've made some terrible predictions in the past. I just was posted on Facebook of Benjamin Tal, the economist.
Yeah, I saw that.
He gets paid $1 million a year to predict things. He can't do it. So why I would even give it a shot is completely a waste of my energy. And you have better things to do than listen to my wacky ideas about where the market's going. I thought after 08 and 09, it would be flat for 10 years. I thought after the government came in and said, we don't want any more foreign money coming in here. We don't want any investment, that things would at least flatten out at best, go down at worst. And that never happened either. So immigration's coming. We don't have enough housing. You do the math. Yeah.
It's interesting for sure. Well, Adam, I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you have a super busy schedule. So thank you so much for coming on and for providing some really great insights into the appraisal side of things and the market. So thank you.
Thank you.